We want to do more than just make that news available to people, though. We want to have audience engagement in which we actually meet with people personally, like we're doing with you folks. Get experts to talk about an issue in depth so that we can have a better understanding of these issues. And so we have launched an audience engagement project. This is our first session. We're going to do more of those this year, and it'll coincide with the launch of a statewide radio program in July and more in-depth exploration of these types of issues.
Hopefully this is the beginning of a conversation about this transition in life, and everybody goes through it, every family goes through it, and our agency has been out there since 1973 helping people through that transition.
I think every good speech deserves a prop, so I brought a prop. It's a pair of dice. That's my illustration of the quality of long-term care services.
It's a crapshoot.
You take your chances. It's a crapshoot. It really is. It really is a crapshoot. And the reason I say that is because some people in Iowa will have a really good long-term care experience. I know that from personal experience. Some people, some consumers will have a really dissatisfying experience.
And one of the questions that I'm often asked after writing about some of the issues that I've covered is whether or not Iowa has better or worse care than most other states. And that occurred to me when I was preparing for this afternoon. That there was a study last year that was done by an organization called Families for Better Care. And this is a group out of Florida that's run by the former ombudsman for long-term care in Florida. And that study found that Iowa, in the opinion of this group, was one of the worst providers of long-term care. It was one of 10 states that scored an F rating. And of course, some of these ratings are very subjective, and the Healthcare Association did take issue with some of the findings. But it helps give some perspective, I guess, on where Iowa stands relative to other states.
We investigate concerns, complaints regarding quality of care or violation of rights. So that would be an option or an opportunity to call our office. We provide general information and education to people about long-term care services and supports, generally within a long-term care setting. But if we would get a call for someone who wants to reside in their own home or someone who's in a facility who would like to try to move back home, we can put them in touch with services that will help them with that as well. Again, we act on behalf of the resident. If the resident wants us to do something, we do. And if they don't want us to do anything, we don't. We work behind the scenes to cause or to bring about change and protection for that person.
When you really learn about long-term care is when you experience it personally with family members. That's when you really come to understand what works, what doesn't work, what's good, what's not good, what the problems are in the system, to the extent you can call long-term care a system. AARP did a study a few years ago that concluded that long-term care is the thing that Americans fear more than death. Isn't that interesting?
Iowa exercises no oversight at all of the privately funded home health care agencies that send licensed and unlicensed caregivers into people's homes. We also reported that Iowa by law cannot impose fines, state fines, on hospitals or on hospital-owned nursing homes. And lastly, we reported that licensure of outpatient surgical centers is done on a voluntary basis, and they are not inspected by the state. When I asked the governor about this, he said, "I want to see Iowans take ownership of their own health." He said that with regard to the 20-year cycle of inspections at hospice facilities, he said, "I guess I don't know where you get that information." Of course, we got that information from his own department, his own inspections department.
Quality of care and services is not as good as it could be. It's not as good as it should be. And I think one other thing that people would agree on is that we can do better and we deserve better. We should measure, we should report on, and we should publicize data regarding staff turnover in facilities. Turnover, from my perspective, is one of the untold stories in long-term care. It is, in my mind, the Achilles heel of the long-term care industry. Average turnover in 428 facilities of the frontline certified nurse aide staff, average turnover was 56%. Every year, 56%. Now, can you run a quality operation? Can you provide quality care to people if you're turning half your staff over every year? I don't think so.
I think it's really important for all of us to remember that just because you go to a long-term care facility doesn't mean you lose your rights. We all still have the rights as citizens to vote, to marry, to associate with those who we choose, and to religious freedom. Those rights don't go away just because we're in a facility. Too many times, as people get older, we think they don't know what they're doing, they don't know the decisions they should be making, so we're going to make them for them. And so one of our biggest jobs is just to ensure that that resident is at the center of all the care, that the care is made with them, not without them, and that they have the right to also choose not to receive care.
We need an additional 20,000 people to fill these jobs in the next decade. We have no idea where those 20,000 people are going to come from. We have no plan. We have no incentives. We have created no incentives for people to look at this workforce as something that, hey, I'd like to be in that. I can see doing that for a career, and I can make a good living in it. It's not possible to make a good living in direct care. One other thing that I would mention is that we need to do a much better job in the state of identifying who the really good providers are, and we know there are some, seeing what they do, how they do it, how well they do it, how do they produce results that nobody else produces, and replicate it elsewhere. We know that there are ways to improve quality. We know this is not rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. We know what it takes to get this done. We simply have not had the will to do it. It's about time that that happens, and I would hope that this fall's elections might allow us to do that.